Nau mai hara mai ki Kaupapa on the couch. He Māoritanga te kaupapa o te rānei. Hey kids, it's Kaupapa on the couch! Quick, what do you think of when I say the names the High Five, Rim D Paul, the Quintickies and the Volcanics? If the answer is, I don't know her, then hold on to your skinny ties and let me take you back to a time when Māori ruled the music scene.
There'll be bluebirds over the white of tomorrow. Just you wait and see.
After World War II, Māori concert parties became a huge attraction, like the kapa haka groups that we know and love today. Action songs and haka were still a novelty for Pākehā New Zealanders that hadn't been to Rotorua and knew nothing about Māori culture. So concert parties would tour all over Aotearoa and regularly sell out venues to massive crowds. One of the earliest groups to combine contemporary music with kapa haka was Te Pau o Mangatāwhiri, who were born from a group of children orphaned in the Waikato by the influenza epidemic of 1918 and gathered up to be cared for under the watchful eye of Princess Te Puia. The group were taught kapa haka and instruments and travelled throughout Waikato performing, even up as far north as Hokianga, and they kick-started an interest in Māori music everywhere they went. By the mid-1950s, the Awapuni Māori concert party from Hastings had followed suit. A Pākehā businessman named Benny Levin started managing them, adding Howard Morrison and the Clive Trio to his roster, and later the Howard Morrison Quartet, who crooned and sang beautiful waiata, swing, and African-American spirituals, and they were funny too.
I can read lips. She was saying to her girlfriend. Hard to imagine that their ancestors were cannibals, isn't it?
Because, hello, Māori are crack-ups. This was the beginning of the Māori show band as popular entertainment and a real moneymaker. It was about this time that rock and roll and the Hawaiian sound were really taking off. It was a complicated time too, with a lot of emphasis by the government on Māori assimilation into Pākehā society.
Theirs is a history somewhat saddened by wars with the white man. And it's only during the last generation that the hard feelings have been forgotten.
Māori were leaving their tribal rohe and heading to the cities to find work and naturally congregating in places where they could hang out with each other. And as ever, that involved music. Bands started popping up everywhere. They played dance halls, sound shells, marae, surf life-saving clubs, anywhere with a floor basically. One of the first and most famous of the big show bands was the Māori High Five, the template for what was to come, if you like. The group started playing shows in Wellington in the late 1950s, and they were soon picked up by another couple of enterprising Pākehā men, Charles Mather and Jim Anderson, who managed them and whipped them into an entertainment machine. They wore expensive suits. They combined comedy, cabaret, kapa haka, vaudeville, and rock and roll. The sets had to be slick and fast-paced, and above all, they had to be seen to be enjoying themselves. So to discipline them, Charles and Jim fined them for every indiscretion, including being drunk, being late, and even not smiling enough on stage. Okay, smile police, geez. And then came the deluge. After the success of the High Five, those two Pākehā fellas started a business called the High Five Company. And next came the Māori High Quins, the Quintickies, and the legendary Rim D Paul from Ohinemutu in Rotorua.
Near her, I'm so happy, and my heart beats tenderly. She's the girl I need to love, an angel in the sky above me.
Meanwhile, copycat acts were popping up everywhere, and promoters were booking them without even hearing them because the reputation of the Māori show bands was so strong. Of course, Aotearoa wasn't big enough to sustain all these working musicians, so they headed to Australia and they absolutely killed it. The Quintickies were invited to Las Vegas by Sammy Davis Jr., an opportunity their management turned down, by the way. And the Māori High Five even performed with the Beatles in Hong Kong. They toured all throughout Europe and the UK and continued to be a mainstay of Sydney nightlife. At the peak of the Māori show band phenomenon in the mid-1960s, you could find members of the Māori Troubadours, the Māori Highliners, the Quintickies, the Māori Volcanics, Te Kiwis, the Premiers, the Māori Huckers, and the Māori Miners in any Sydney nightclub. And from this amazing stable of groups came some of our biggest stars, Prince Tuiteka, Billy T. James, Frankie Stevens, and John Rawls. John Rawls! Unfortunately, the success of these bands didn't necessarily get the respect it deserved at home. Because, you know, racism. And many of those performers never came home from Australia and the UK. So, you know, after the cultural renaissance of the 1970s and the realities of the effects of colonisation on Māori became more apparent to the New Zealand public, our music and our message became more political. And that's a whole other wonderful era of music, as is our traditional music and our incredibly diverse contemporary artists. But many of the wonderful musicians of the show band era are passing away, and I don't want us to forget these incredible performers. Their legacy lives on. Did you know about the show bands? Who's your favourite Māori musician of all time? Let me know in the comments below. Hei te rā marama, we'll see you next month for another episode of Kaupapa on the Couch.